We spend billions trying to biohack our way to health. The supplements, the gadgets, the fads. But here's the truth. When severe illness strikes, none of that can shield us from the real impact on our bodies and our finances. So, what really drives health and longevity? In this conversation, we're cutting through the noise to uncover the basics that actually matter and how protecting ourselves starts long before we ever get sick. Prof, let me start with you. We talk about issues of longevity and biohacking.
Yeah.
But from a specialist perspective, how do we ensure we get the longest life possible?
So I think the three most important things I can say is screen, check your body, know your body. The second thing is BMI, try and keep your weight down. In fact, BMI is a bit crude, but you want to keep your weight down. And the third thing is to exercise. Other than that, I always say it's a bit like driving a car. You've got to have your security, your seat belts, and your little airbags, because you can have a bumper bashing if you do everything right, okay? But you want to really avoid, if you're in a significant accident, be it a health thing, and we're talking about cancers and other things, that you have the protections around you. Really important.
Dr. Ruda, we see so much these days, particularly on social media, about biohacking and how walking in the sunshine in the early morning and grounding and all of that will in fact increase our lifespan. From a medical perspective, is that all mumbo jumbo, or is it based on any kind of factual evidence?
Sure, how many hours do you have? Now look, I think you've got to go back to some fundamentals here. The fact is, human health does not need to be put into balance. It's already in balance in its original form. It's human choices. In modern diseases, we call them lifestyle diseases. So what do we see? Obesity, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, which are leading to lots of cardiovascular complications. The point is, we don't choose to get those diseases. So we're not saying obesity is a choice. But the fact is, our choices have consequences, you see. And we live a certain way in an urban environment where the primary problem is stress. Because stress is of our own creation, right? The world is not doing it to us. Demand and supply can occur together. It's all dependent on our value systems. Happiness is the goal of life. The question is, what is the means to happiness? You see, if you believe the temporary things of the world are going to give you permanent happiness, the pursuit of it is always going to fail you, and in that agitated state, you're stressed. And then your cortisol's up, your adrenaline's up, your noradrenaline's up, and you're going to get hypertension, cholesterol, cancers related to stress as well. So we're seeing all these links. So in that environment of living, you want to biohack and get 2 minutes of sunshine and earth. It's not going to work.
So Katie, I want to say something. So we have a genetic makeup and we have an environmental that surrounds us. And whatever it is, whether it's mental health issues and cancer, there's a combination between what you've got from your genetics, where you have little repair genes trying to fix things, and then I call it the little hyena cells, the little immune cells that are trying to kill things, right? So I love what you say about stress. And what I always say to people is that no one's perfect. We have fundamental makeups. You can't buy your vitamin to long health, and you can't buy your quick solution. And it's a supplement. It's not a solution. It's a supplement to what you're not taking in. Am I right?
Essen, from a finance perspective, how do you feel when you sit here and you listen to the experts talk about taking control of our health in terms of our own lifestyle? Do you think that this translates and that people then are making the right financial decisions for themselves?
Well, I think first, just an observation, at least from the insurance point of view, that what we're seeing, and again, to confirm to the discussion so far, there is also blurred lines between mental and physical health. And as much as we're seeing a lot of elevated levels of stress, anxiety, depressions in people, especially clients who come for insurance, there's also how that translates then to some of the physical health. Just one of the, like maybe some of the items we've seen on income protection, for example, people at some point they've pushed themselves so hard that they start either burning out or they go chronic pain, chronic fatigue, which then it's blurred between mental health and physical health. And then at some point you get those triggers that gets to bigger things like a cancer or heart conditions. So that really where I think, especially in an environment, in a South African environment where it's not just the work pressures, but there's also the political, the economical, the social elements that are out there that can always put the pressure on people. Those things just, I think, compound a lot in terms of what we see at the claim stage for our clients.
Doctor, are you seeing more and more young people getting ill and falling ill? Prof, are you seeing them coming into your practice with really dread disease having manifested in their bodies?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to probably complement one another nicely, because people always ask why more young cancers. And I said in the 16th century, you were cleaning out a chimney and having a baby at 13 and didn't have teeth at 27 and dying. And we have more generational changes around genetics and environmental exposures. And people must take away, it's not something you've done wrong if you get a cancer at 23.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in causation, and I'll talk along those lines. We are seeing a shift of what we used to call non-communicable diseases happening in middle-aged to more elderly people, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular, now in younger and younger age groups, to the point we're seeing obesity and type 2 diabetes in teenagers as young as 12 and 13, very common. Which means it's not just appearing suddenly. There's a causation that's playing out prior to that. And that causation is not from birth. It's from mom's health, father's health, right? Epigenetics is showing that our genes aren't as static as we thought. And they are constantly being modified by our interaction with environment, and that leaves a footprint. That's one component. But then children are being born also into environments that are conducive for these diseases to happen. So obesogenic environments. Often when people experience a disease, when it's diagnosed, it's where did this come from, why me? But the laws of causation are playing out in the universe, and we're not judging it, we're not blaming. Innocently, people are going through these things without the right understanding, you see. And at this point, I'll make, Carol was saying as well, that we're seeing more cancer because of environmental exposures. But this is supposed to be that world that has progressed technologically, supposed to be more advanced, and we have scientific rigor, yet the exposures are worse. So, it's time probably for a paradigm shift in how we think about health on a global scale, but also incorporate ideas of philosophy, culture, Ubuntu, community, and fundamentally asking what's that purpose of life. Yeah.
So interesting that you mentioned community and Ubuntu. A Harvard study done many years ago, actually, that tracked men for a period of 80 plus years. And at that point, they only tracked men because Harvard, all those years ago, only had men. But it basically showed that those with longer lives, better quality of lives, were those who were happier, had community, had family, had a support structure. So I love what you're saying there. Sinaklela, can I ask you as well about these younger disease or younger people prone to disease? How do you get a 23-year-old to take something like dread disease cover? It's not even in their realm of thinking or possibility.
Well, I think it also touches to the fear of encountering or thinking about what the worst that can happen to you, and how do you navigate that, and then to think about how do you protect yourself. And again, it boils down to behavioral and thinking and philosophic. How do I think about things that don't encounter it currently? And the other part, the flip side of the same coin, I think for younger people, just for me as a statistic, just hard data that we see, at least for clients who are coming to get insurance in their ages between 20 and 45, is that 1 in 20 already has a combination of the three, which is high BMI, stress, or any mental condition, and cancer, prior diagnosis of cancer, even at those ages. So in the moment you've got a combination of those three, what we find that if for example, on the mental health, not well managed, BMI is high and not necessarily being looked after appropriately, and then there's been a diagnosis of cancer of some sort, that the ability to get insurance and protection thereafter becomes quite difficult. So either you're uninsurable, or it's going to take you the next 5 to 10 years before you become insurable, even at those ages. And I think if you look then for the same person, you track them 5 years before, where then there were signs that their health is not necessarily going into the right direction, and there's just not enough intervention happening. Either they're not accessing the right care, even though information is so readily available. Are we able to digest and think and consider that information? Does that filter through when we do financial plans, or everything just goes to the next Bitcoin and next fancy investments, but not thinking about how do I protect myself if the worst were to happen? So I think that for me is one of the biggest challenges we see in the financial services.
So I think what's important around insurance is, like you educate on health, you've got to educate on safety and security. We all tell our kids how you have to drive and where you go and what to do from a family and a health point of view. I think if you have the wherewithal as a parent, probably the best thing you can give your child at 18 is an understanding of the concept of saving a certain amount from an insurance thing.
And normalizing those conversations
Absolutely.
about health and
Absolutely.
insurance and the connectivity.
Normalize this concept around, talk about that things in health happen, and what are you going to do when it happens? How can you decrease your risk? But how, if something happens, you know where to go. Because healthcare, like you said, is not the nirvana answer to everything. We are just seeing, I always say, we are reactionary, and we're reacting and reacting, reacting. And what we've got to do is we've got to work out ways that we can change that. So absolutely be safe, have your insurance, do your screening, pick up things early, ask for second opinions, speak to doctors who will speak to you like a person and see the whole you and not just the body part.
That is so critical.
And then sit yourself down and say to yourself, what makes you happy? Okay, what makes you unhappy? What is your burden? I love it when people ask me, what's your work-life balance? I say, I'm fabulously unbalanced, you know, but I'm happy in my unbalanced, and realize we're a community.
Yes.
So don't be scared to take people with you to doctor's appointments, eh?
You know, my father's always had this analogy that he uses. He says, we take our car for a service once, maybe twice a year. Why are we not taking ourselves for a service once or twice a year by getting screened once or twice a year? And I must say, it saved his life. 6 years ago, that philosophy saved his life. And just to round off this part of our discussion, I read something fascinating. If we change our language, instead of saying, I have to, we say, I get to. I have to go grocery shopping. I have to go to work. I have to pick up the kids. I get to go to work.
I know.
I get to pick up the kids.
like
and
that.
I love that. When I read it, it really resonated with me. Just reframing how we think about life.
I'm going to use that. I love
Please
that.
do. Please
Love
do.
that.
I get to. I mean, I get to interview you today. And it has been quite something. Thank you very much. We'll round off this first part of our discussion.